Hello again, witchy people. So today I wanted to talk about how we sometimes have to be very careful how we get rid of items we use during spell work. What's the best way, or maybe even the worst way, to get rid of things like partially used candles and herbs and oils and bottles and all sorts. So here's the thing, and this got me thinking because I had 3 partially used candles, and I do not like throwing away partially used candles. The problem we have with candles is that many of them have paraffin in them. Natural soy candles are fine, natural beeswax candles are fine, but a lot of candles that you buy will have paraffin wax and such like in them, and all sorts in them. So best not to bury them. To be honest, the easiest way to get rid of a candle, as some people don't like doing this, if you partially use a candle, there's nothing to say that you can't carry on using it. You can either cleanse it and use it in another spell, or keep it burning till it burns out, and that will get rid of all the wax. That's probably the best way. Another way that you can use up all these little bits of candles is basically to make a new candle out of them, but once again cleanse all those leftovers first and then make a whole new candle. So that's one of the basics. There are so many things that you used to be able to throw away and that you can't now. There's a lot of material that you can't throw away, as in fabrics, because you don't know how it will affect the environment. Or, I mean, if you throw it in water, it might not be good for the fish, it might not disintegrate. If you bury it, it might not disintegrate. For instance, tea bags. We always used to throw tea bags away and saying, oh, because the tea leaves are very good for the soil. You can't do that anymore, because tea bags don't disintegrate in soil, they don't rot away. So something else that you should bear in mind, things like if you make witch jars or witch pouches and poppets and they're finished with, do you bury them? Well, some people say yes, but if you've got, like, say for instance, a poppet that's made out of one of these, a little pouch that's made out of one of these, you can't bury it. It doesn't disintegrate, and you know, the worms don't like them, and worms are good for your garden. So leftover material, in some cases it is best to simply wash it, so clean it and then cleanse it and use it again. Don't use anything, don't use unnatural, or non-natural I should say, materials, fabrics in your spell works. That way you can bury them. So 100% cotton and such like you can bury. You can use them to line your plant pots and all sorts. So when it comes down to other things, other materials, you know, you can't bury them, you can't flush them away. Sometimes you can burn them. That's not always a very good idea. Like I said, it depends on the fabric. So once again, clean and cleanse. Even if it's a reusable fabric and you're going to reuse it, clean and cleanse. And obviously we all know there's a difference between cleaning and cleansing. You clean something and then you cleanse it. Okay, oils and herbs. I'm going to put these two together, sort of. Now, I do not recommend chucking herbs or oils into moving water, outside natural water. I think that can be quite a dangerous thing. You don't know how it's going to affect the local wildlife or how it's going to upset the ecosystem. So I don't recommend it. Now, if it's herbs that you've gathered from your own garden, or that are okay for you, you know, you've bought locally, or, you know, and they're sterile herbs, they haven't got seeds in, then yes, bury them. You can burn them, obviously. But you have to, when you burn something, treat it as a cleanse. you know, understand that you're putting that energy in to cleanse what was left. So you're taking out any of the magic that you've used, for any of that energy that you've put in. You are relinquishing safely. Oils, once again, it's very hard with oils. Now obviously oils, if you're going to use an oil and you've made it yourself and you know you're not going to use a lot of it, well, make up a small amount. Don't make up large amounts. Oil is one of the hardest things to get rid of. You can, I have one small spot in my garden that's away from everything, and it's a rubbish spot where nothing grows. And I have a container in the ground that has earth in it where I can put in oils, and I do this for like cooking oil that we don't need any longer, because you can't put it down the drain. You really shouldn't. Either have it picked up and taken away, which you can do, or dispose of it carefully. But if you're not going to use it, don't make it. Now then, there's the glass jars, usually, that the oil comes in. What do you do with those? Do you bury them? No, absolutely not. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but I would not recommend burying glass jars full of oil. You don't know what's going to dig it up or anything. Certainly not, you know, don't rinse it out in natural waters, no natural streams or anything. Clean them and cleanse them. Now there are some people that don't like that. They prefer to break a glass jar when it's finished with, like in spell bottles and such like. That's hard. I would still clean it and cleanse it first. Get rid of anything that happens to be imbued in that glass, and then you can put it in the recycle bin if you wanted to. You know, there are some things you can just throw away, but always clean and cleanse first. You don't want something that you've used in spell work sitting in your bin in your home or just outside your home with all the energy that you've put into it. You don't want that sitting around, especially not in a pile of rubbish. So clean and cleanse first. Get rid of all those energies that you've put in, all that magic, all that leftover energy. Dispense with it, disperse it, get rid of it first. Now when it comes down to witch bottles and poppets and stuff that you put inside, so if you've got things like iron nails and such like that, once again, neutralise them first. If you neutralise and take away their power, if you like, you can use them again. If you don't like the idea of reusing things like that, and perhaps you shouldn't be using them in the first place, I mean, let's just face it, witch bottles don't, personally I feel that they're not something that you can use forever. Sometimes you have to open them and recharge them. So the ingredients within, recharge them, reuse them if they can be reused, things like iron nails and things like that. You could bury them if you wanted to. Once again, I would have a specific place in your garden. Recycle them if you want to get rid of them and they can be recycled, then recycle. Burn what you can safely. The other thing I should mention with jars and bottles is when you clean and cleanse, don't forget the lids. So many times, you know, people say, oh, I cleaned my bottle and I cleansed it, and I've seen it on YouTube and I've seen it on people's blogs, and the lids are sitting next to their sink when they've been cleaned and cleansed. I'm thinking, don't forget the lid. Please don't forget the lid. If you are assuming that glass can absorb some of that energy and plays a part in your ritual and your spell, then surely the lid does as well, whether it's plastic, metal, cork, anything. Surely that will have the same properties, similar properties, if you're using it in a similar way. So that about covers it. I can't think of anything else you would use in spell work. I mean, the other thing that someone was saying to me was broken tools. The parts of a broken tool, for instance, if you had an athame and it had a wooden handle, burn. Cleanse it. Cleanse all the pieces. Recycle when you can. So if you have a recycling place that will take the blade, then fair enough. A lot of police stations will have blade drop-offs where you can hand in blades. And although that's not what it's for, but it is a good thing. It stops blades being out on the street. So that's something else you can do. Repair things that you can. You know, there is nothing wrong with repairing things, because as you're repairing something, you are putting all your energy into it, and all that care and love and attention can only make it more powerful. So once again, do try to recycle, upcycle, reuse, but think very carefully. And of course, this is just a lot of what I do. I'm not suggesting that everyone should do the same. Once again, you have to do what feels right for you and your path. So if you don't like the idea of using a candle right to the end, then don't. But think about where you bury it and what it contains if you bury it. And you've got to bear in mind always how you're affecting not just what happens to the rest of your spell, but how you're affecting the local environment. So there you go. A few ideas on how to get rid of those pesky little leftovers. Like I said, reuse when you can, recycle, upcycle, be green. I know it's very fashionable to say be green, but it's a good idea. And like I said, really look into whether things that you use can be buried safely, if that's the way you prefer to do it. And if you are going to put them in the rubbish, find out if they can be recycled first, and clean and cleanse. That's it for now. Thank you for watching, witchy people. I will be back very soon. Bye bye for now.